Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Politdigm podcast. My name is Red, and today I'm joined by my co-host Alpha.
Once again, I am present. Hello.
Hello. And today is a special day. Today is
A
nine
day that
eleven.
people are filled with hate.
9/11, guys. It's 9/11. A day famous for such things as Christian Bale being cast as Batman, or at least the announcement of it. And, other less important small things like the Twin Towers being destroyed by planes. But,
Yeah,
some
on a more
people,
tasteful note, we will abort this topic on
uh,
this podcast.
but, some people have priorities. Personally, I find Christian Bale's casting a little more interesting.
Well, you're
Um,
not American, so
I know, but Batman, like, really have to say
neither is
much?
Batman.
But he's Batman. Anyways, so today is Monday, and today's blog topic. Well, first of all, the blog was written by me, as promised in the last episode. Um, we talked about a potential uh blog topic that we talked about, and then I was like, yeah, we'll make this into a blog, and here we are. That's what I did. And in fact, to remind people what I wrote down on my sheet of paper last episode: immoral buying, games, cars, yes, that was the phrase I wrote. And guess what, 2 days later I come and read the paper, I'm like, what the fuck does that
We
mean?
called it. We absolutely
I mean,
called it.
I knew what it meant. I knew what, like, it was able to put me back on the topic, but I was like, this does not actually explain what I had in mind back then, right? It got me. It reminded me of the topic,
Brain work
but
good.
it did not remind me of how I wanted to tackle
Yeah.
that topic. However, I did, and in my opinion, which only has so much value, in this regard, in this situation, I mean, what the fuck, is the best blog we've written yet. At least the one I've written.
Yeah.
Um,
All the books are pretty fire, especially the one about climate change, because
because
there were literally
they're
fires on that
fires.
blog.
Yeah, yeah. Alpha, we got it, Alpha. Yeah, we surprising.
I
Uh,
pay to be here.
wait, no, you're done. Uh, however, so I chose the topic about subscriptions and digital ownership. The reason I did this is of course of the topic we talked about last episode, and today I wanted to really talk about more of that. At least more in this sort of more of a detailed look, because last time it's always the second half of the podcast, and the second half of the podcast is always a little goofy. However, before I do that, I need to remind people of something which I actually promised I would do last episode, and then I almost
Yeah.
forgot, which is, before I do get into the blog, don't forget to join our Discord. It's a free community. However, if you want to support us, you can on Patreon, and it'll give you access to special stuff on the podcast, including being featured in the Q&A. The Q&A will be at the end of each episode, where we will try to answer your questions as best as possible. And yeah, just
And free cookies.
no, that's a lie. That's not true. We will not give any free cookies. You do not deserve our cookies. Our
Yes,
cookies
we
are
will.
our cookies are wonderful. They are amazing, and they are gluten free. I don't know, and they're
But you don't
chocolate
know how
chip
to
cookies.
bake cookies.
Hey, bitch, talk about your. You don't know how to bake cookies. I know how to
I
bake cookies.
do actually.
Then why the fuck did you say that?
You don't know, but I do.
All I know is that you have less mental stability than me. No, no, no.
As bitches be crazy.
Whoa. Are you bitches? Anyways, right. Back to the blog.
Yes.
So last episode we talked about. I think the big best example I gave was definitely GTA. And it's definitely something that I had in the back of my mind while writing this blog.
And the
However,
cars.
exactly. However, there was another story which really inspired me through hatred, which was the fact that I found out. I don't know if I talked about this in the last episode, but I think I might have. Which was that, for example, Ubisoft and EA, if you don't play a game through through your through their services, right? If you don't play one of their games, if you're inactive for over 24 months, your account will be deleted permanently, and any game you ever bought in it will be lost.
Excuse me.
Including, fun fact, if you buy an Ubisoft game, I believe, through Steam, if that game is then connected to an Ubisoft account, you will also lose it on Steam, right? Which to me is horrendous.
I'm sorry. How in the fuck?
Yeah, that's the thing now. We're doing
How is
that.
that a business model?
I know that's something I
How is
actually
that
comment.
allowed?
That's I don't we'll see. I'm sure some in the next couple of maybe years there's definitely some governing body will probably do something about that. However, I
Or
definitely talked
not?
about it as I talked about it in the blog. Exactly what type of business practice is that? First of all, I want to take the I can you can take the moral perspective of like that's immoral and that's wrong because people bought these products, therefore they deserve it. That's true. Perfect.
Not that they deserve it, it's their property. The same way
Exactly.
that your house is your property.
But then you have to take but then me as a student of marketing, of PR, all these different things, I also then need to take the marketing approach to it. I need to think it that way. And it still doesn't make sense. Because first of
Yeah.
all, you can which is something that I say in the blog, you can argue that they're doing this out of data storage, right? Out of trying to have as least amount of data in their servers, because as you know, nowadays data is very much almost like its own currency. It's very expensive to store. It can do a bunch of stuff. For example, just this week, a Toyota manufacturing plant was completely shut down. People thought they were hacked, but they weren't. They simply literally ran out of storage on their servers, and so everything just shut off. So data is
Oh.
something that's very important. Now, saying that after 24 months they are deleting people's accounts to save data, that's a little weird. You could say that there's definitely something to it. However, it's very unlikely because the amount of data that is really stored in that sense for that type of stuff is really minuscule. And even if you're trying to remove, for example, more important user data, which is the one that they value most because it's the one they can sell from the most amount of money, is the one that also is the more it basically just has more. It's just heavier, right? There's more of it, which is weird because then when you start thinking about it, like if they argued like, okay, after 24 months, for example, if you have backups to the cloud on our servers, they're going to be deleted. That's not great, but it's like, okay, whatever. I understand it. You don't play a game for 2 years. Surely, yeah, okay, sure, back it up yourself, back it up to Steam, do whatever, right? That's then you need to take that into account. That's not still not very fair, but I can understand that, right? In the point of view of storing an entire backup of a game can still after several millions of users can be a lot. However, fully deleting user information and a user's sort of catalog of games does not take that much storage, right? At the end of the day, it's basically just a checklist of like, does this person have this game? Yes or no. That's basically all it is, right? So there's definitely something to it. Then if you start arguing like, oh, they're doing this because this then forces after 24 months, then this forces these certain users to buy these games again. I don't think that makes sense either because doing this is really bad for PR, right? You're not giving yourself a great image of what your company stands for. If what you stand for is that after 24 months you no longer you as a customer are no longer valued, right? So arguing that the idea is, oh, after 24 months we don't longer value you, but we expect you to buy our games again is really dumb because the probability that these people do that is very small because they no longer trust these companies, right? So from a marketing, from a data like storage thing, I highly doubt that it makes any sense. If that's the case, if that's their actual argument, whatever, I still feel like it probably isn't that big of a deal. But hey, if somebody can prove me wrong, then go ahead. But I even regardless, even of that, I think that the bad outweighs the good in this situation, right? You're first of all, you're proving that you're not trustworthy. You're deleting people's games that they bought with their own money. So it's really all bad, right? In fact, you can tell by Alpha's reaction that it's bad because he who was not aware of it clearly had the most expecting and reasonable reaction to it, which was what the fuck, basically. Like what the hell is what type of rule
Like,
is this?
just for a small example, imagine that you buy a house, and then after you buy a house,
Yeah, like you
someone
buy
tells you,
you buy a summer
this is
home.
your house now. However, if you don't inhabit it for 3 months straight, it is no longer your house. No, not 3 months. Let's put the 24 months again.
Yeah,
And you
like
say,
you buy a a house
what the fuck?
somewhere, like somewhere on like this, like I don't know, like Hawaii. Let's say you buy a summer house in Hawaii,
Not a good place right
but
now.
that's true. Imagine you buy a summer house, some cottage in the middle of Greece. I don't know.
So
Uh,
not a good place right now.
God damn it. Fuck Spain. That's not. Uh,
Barcelona,
some
they're pretty good.
Sure, you buy some random, little farm in some European town, right? And because of some unexpected issues for 2 summers straight, you have family complications and you can't go there for summer. Which was the plan? Imagine then on the third year you decide, hey, I'm gonna go there now. And when you do, somebody
Bada
else is
bing, bada
living.
boom.
The house is gone. It's not yours anymore. You don't have the ownership
Well, the
anymore.
house doesn't exist.
Like the house doesn't even exist. You can't even buy it. Like you can buy it back, but you're gonna have to spend all the same money. You're not gonna get a refund. So
You're
you're
gonna
gonna
have
have.
to build a new house.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you want to take into account the amount of time you've spent on a game and how much save files you might have, if those are deleted, then yeah, it's like it's to me it's absurd. Like if for example, let's say that Microsoft did this with Minecraft, I would lose my mind because the idea that all of the thousands of hours I've spent on that game would be completely lost would make me want to kill myself. Would make me go, holy shit, I want to die. Including my other favorite games, Cyberpunk. If I learned that suddenly because of some random shit, I didn't play Cyberpunk for a couple months, and then suddenly Steam is like, "Hey, yeah, your backed up files they're gone now because we don't care about you." That would make me
Ding
livid,
dong, your game is gone.
and it's crazy to me that like a company. I mean, EA is as we all know, EA is known for the best business practices in the world. I'm being ironic,
Evil.
obviously. They're completely shit at it. So it's honestly unsurprising that EA did this. It's unsurprising that I mean Ubisoft a little bit, but not as much these days. So it's to me it's very scummy, and it's something that I really wanted to touch upon. It was sort of not the main topic of the blog. I wanted to focus more on the subscriptions, but then whilst I was coming up with the actual topic, I suddenly remembered those two examples. Well, I remember the Ubisoft one. I didn't know that EA did it too, but I wasn't surprised when I found out. And so when I kind of wrote it down, I was like, I should probably also include this.
Yeah, it might be important. I don't know why. Just get the feeling.
So I did that, and I thought it was important to include, and I think that it tied in nicely regarding the rest of the stuff. Which another thing which I didn't then
Yeah.
also add on and also talked about is generally the fragility of digital ownership. Right? Is the
Yeah.
this exact same concept is owning something that you don't actually own
Oh,
because all
it's not yours.
you don't own the game, you own the license to download the game essentially and play it. And so, all they're giving you is the key at the end of the day. And if they want to change the lock, unfortunately they can. It's basically a very similar dynamic as, a tenant
Landlord.
and a landlord. So being always at
Meaning
mercy,
not good.
yeah, always being at mercy of these big companies. Whilst if they want to make a game you love shit, that's already bad. But now, not even knowing if tomorrow you're gonna own that game anymore, it does not give you any. any comfort. And there was other examples. I can't remember which one. I heard another one on TikTok a couple of weeks ago, which was this guy, which was like talking about this exact same thing about digital ownership, and was like, "You guys called me crazy, but see, now it's happening." Which was another platform. I don't know if it was. I don't know remember what type of platform it was, but it was some sort of like uh I don't know if it was a music one. I don't remember what it was, but it was something just basically this company was removing products from their service. I don't remember if it was like a streaming service. I don't remember if it was a subscription service. I don't know what it was, but basically they were just removing shit, and people were like, "What the fuck? We want these in your catalog or whatever." And the guy was there like, "Hey, you signed up for this. You might not
Yeah,
like it, but that's technically true." And so,
like
yeah, and another thing I talk, sorry, Alpha, another thing I talk about in the
yeah.
blog, which is exactly the thing that you do sign up to it and you agree to these terms, but you don't know you did because nobody knows that you did. Because let's be honest,
You wouldn't read the fucking description.
nobody reads the terms and conditions of anything because they are long, convoluted in a complicated language, which is the same thing as convoluted. They are, unless again, to stay on that same topic, unless you're like a fucking lawyer, you have no clue what you're reading.
Okay, right now we have designated programs to help you find the keywords that dictate how good or bad said terms of conditions
Yeah.
are, because they are made to be confusing so you can't fucking pick out how scummy they are. Have
So,
you looked at Google's terms and conditions? I haven't, but I have looked through those conditions with those types of programs, and it's scary.
yeah, it's something that is not great. It's something that really these companies also use for their advantage because in the beginning they did
Because
it
they sell
purely
data.
they purely did it as a legal necessity, but then it evolved into more than that. It evolved into a tool to fuck you over. And then
Yeah,
when
information is power. If they have the information necessary to understand what sells,
yeah,
oh, they will use it because money.
and then when you don't like it, they'll just point at the terms and services and be like, "You agree to it." I do think something that, for example, organize not organizations like groups like the EU and stuff like that should push for is the something just like they did with cookies, and something that a law that they're trying get to put in power in place right now, which is, sorry, pardon me, relating to which apps come with your phone, for example.
Yep.
You being able to choose that, like for example, I have a Samsung phone. I think you too, do Alpha, right?
Yeah, I
And
prefer Samsung.
they come with a abundant amount of preloaded apps, and you can't uninstall them. At least not in a user friendly way. You can brute force it by like connecting your phone to your PC and doing all these kind of questionable things. You can do it, but like most users won't do it. They then
Yeah,
use the connect like the collected data from that to sell to other to marketing companies and all that. They also they they are also planning on, so they want to ban that. They also want to ban most like data, like collecting situations that happens towards like phones and stuff, which is great. Like something that I really like that the EU has been doing these last couple of years is like trying as much as possible to make sure that these big companies have no way of actually collecting your data and selling it.
yeah.
It's
Like the ability to see which apps are active in the background and to block
yeah.
permissions is already huge.
And like another thing, I don't know if this was a rule. I think it was, but for example, something that my phone has didn't have it at launch, but then eventually got it with the newer Android updates, which was, for example, anytime my camera is in use or anytime my microphone is in use, at the top right of my screen, there's a green light that turns on with the icon. And
Yeah,
one time I wasn't doing filming or recording, and that shit turned on, and I turned off my phone real quick because I was like, "Whoa, why is currently my microphone working when I'm not doing anything?" So it's great to be able to, at that when that
and if
happened.
you own a Samsung, you know that shit is small. That's a small little light.
I mean, it's an actual, like, it's not an embedded thing on my screen. It's an actual just on my
Yeah.
display, right? So it's not that small, not on my phone. It's pretty viewable.
I mean,
Uh,
at least mine is like a small dot on the top
I mean, yeah, but
corner.
like you can, it's pretty bright. It's pretty like obnoxious, right? So you can you can tell. But like stuff like that is great.
Yeah, mine is literally just a little dot. So
Is is protecting consumer rights is very important because at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's just a different facet of the same concept of protecting workers' rights because you're protecting. In this case, you're protecting consumers. In workers' rights, you're protecting workers against a capitalist.
it all
Com-
goes back. It all circles back.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you're trying to always fight a, let's say, an evil capitalist organization. In one situation, you're regarding the workers, the others are regarding its clients. You always these people need these protections in place because at the end of the day, unfortunately, these are the big corporations. These mega corporations are the ones who actually have power, and so unless there's an actual government that usually is like, whoa, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Yeah.
They'll just do whatever they want.
Like, can I like in that sort of conversation before we go back to the blog? You have watched Suits, right?
A little bit. I've watched some episodes. Yes.
Yeah. So there was a time where I watched Suits because I was bored out of my mind and I thought lawyers were cool, and then I woke up. Um, and there was like I think it's the penultimate season where the main character and his girlfriend don't show up because his girlfriend in the show is the actress that married Prince Harry. I'm
Yep.
forgetting her name.
Meghan Markle.
Uh, yeah, exactly. And there was this whole thing because that character left the big lawyer firm because he wanted to do something good and not being a piece of shit. And the lawyering firm wasn't allowing him to explore or the options that he wanted to explore. And there was a whole arc on that season where the other main big big name lawyer from the firm had to learn that he shouldn't do said charitable work because it wasn't his job.
Yeah, I think I've seen those episodes.
And that was the point where I stopped. Like he was trying to help a cleaning lady that worked on the building
Yeah.
sue the landlord because the landlord was a piece of shit, and his secretary said, "You're not the other guy. That's not your job." And he's like, "You're right," and just looks down through his corner office on this like 50-story building with a glass of whiskey, reminiscing on the fact that he is in fact not that guy.
You know that guy, pal.
Exactly.
Uh,
And I was just like, that's the most evil capitalist bullshit I've ever seen.
yeah, I enjoy that show in some senses, but it's definitely the whole show is basically these lawyers sucking a
Yeah.
bunch of corpo's dick, right? So uh, it's not in that
It's
sense. It's
pretty.
not great.
The only lawyering show, not lawyering show, but adjacent lawyer adjacent pieces of media that I truly enjoy that I've watched is the Seven of Chicago, which follows the trial of the Seven of Chicago, which happened after a bunch of protests that were protesting against the involvement of American troops in Vietnam. And if let me check the name again, this is criminal that I don't remember. Pretty sure it's When They See Us. Yes, When They See Us, which is a Netflix story about a real life case of five African American teenagers which were wrongly accused for the it rhymes with grape of a white woman with no evidence and were coerced under police brutality. And it's the whole work of the lawyers, their life in prison, etc. It's a heartbreaking story that I think is mandatory to watch if you are into any kind of social justice or Black Lives Matter types of movements.
Yeah, and anti-police brutality and all
Yeah,
that all
Like
those
these
shenanigans.
they were literally children. They were questioned without their parents,
Yeah.
which is pretty fucking illegal. And like facts were made up because it would be pretty bad for the chief policewoman if they didn't catch the culprit really fast.
Yeah. Circling back to what we were talking about,
Yeah,
um, I wanted to talk about real quick about another consumer issue, which I would like to mention. It's not something that typically really falls into the type of stuff that we talk about, but I believe is important regarding the topic that we've mentioned in this episode.
yeah, sure.
And generally, it's something that affects most people, which is, for example, another thing that I think is a complete violation of consumer rights is the newest update to Chrome. They basically, when you start Chrome, you got this message with these four colorful little blocks explaining how they are starting a new private ad privacy. They have a new ad privacy like terms and conditions, right? Where
Oh
they
no,
supposedly are have this new system in place to stop advertisers from getting your data. However, that's how they phrase it. They phrased it in a technical and legal way that makes it sound like that's what they're doing. In fact, they are doing
let me guess. It's
literally
not.
the exact opposite. They have
Let's go.
the newest update to Chrome scrapes even more of your data and sells even more of it to these advertisers. So you can opt out of it in some ways. I believe that depending, it also depends on where you live, so that's something to take into account. Personally, I don't use Chrome. I use a Chromium-based browser. If you don't know what that means that down, below the engine, the actual system that it uses is the same as Chrome. It's also developed by Google, but hey, I don't know exactly how much of an influence that will have on my browser. As far as I'm aware, my browser does not have this feature yet, which is good. Um, so take
You
that into
use
account.
Opera, right?
I use Opera GX, and I have every privacy and data blocker imaginable on, and I don't. Not only do I have the like the ones that came with the browser, I then have like 3 or 4 extensions on top of it. So like I don't even get pop-ups anymore, which is great.
That's
Um,
pretty cool.
when I those websites where you get there's a MILF 5 meters away from you looking for hot, passionate sexual relations with you. I don't get those, which is
Tap.
good.
Uh,
Uh, I can look at those websites without feeling like a weirdo. Let's go, and having to look over my shoulder to see if my parents will walk into my room.
that has
Uh,
happened to me before. It's pretty awkward.
if you need that extension, hit me up.
Please give me that
Hit me
extension.
up on Twitter, Instagram. You know where to find my links. I don't know. Wait,
Just
do you?
disc. I have your Discord. Just give me your Discord, man. Please.
So yeah, it's something to take into account. To me, it's selling data, right? Is something that should just be illegal. Period. I don't give a
You're selling
fuck.
privacy.
Like I don't give a fuck if it's something that's important for our world. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense that people's private information should be sold from company to company to make it so that that ads shown to you are more um,
Targeted, personalized.
targeted or more specific so that they sell more products. I don't care. It's a capitalist nightmare. I fucking hate it. It's like using it's trying to in a way slowly, like how many times have you thought of something and then a couple of hours later go check your phone and on Instagram or another social media you found an ad for that exact same thing you thought, because they're
Yeah.
constantly implanting these subconscious ideas in your mind through these ads and stuff, and it's something that is really bad. It's something that does really bad things to your mental health, and it's not great for you.
I'm gonna
It's
give a small example. Imagine that in order to be able to buy better groceries, you needed to have a camera that is recording you with a person behind it that will analyze the footage in real time all the time. You go to sleep to your bedroom and he's there. You go take a shower, and he's there. You have a date, and he's there. Would you find that comfortable? I sure shit wouldn't. Well, guess what? That's basically your phone.
Yeah.
All
Uh,
the all those conservative uh, spiels about microchips and vaccines, etc. There's no need. There's no need. Your phone does whatever you think those chips do, and 100 times better. It tracks your movements. It tracks your searches. It tracks your conversations. It tracks your usage time. It tracks everything under the guise of better management for advertising and targeted ads, which is horrifying. Like I have a I have a VR headset. I love my VR headset, and it's cheap as fuck. Why is it cheap as fuck? Because it has 4 cameras that it uses to locate your controllers, to use as paths through,
wasn't it wasn't
basically
it
meaning
wasn't it like Apple or Meta who like keep and sell your retina data, like your eye
that's Apple. That's Apple. Uh,
it's like
with the
what the
new one,
fuck?
and also the cameras record you all the time.
Yeah.
I literally had to plug it into my computer and dive head first into the files, void my warranty, and shut that down.
Could have also just unplugged it, but hey, that's just
No, like the headset is on, like even if it's in sleep mode, it is constantly recording
yeah.
both what you do in game and what the cameras capture outside. I don't want that. It's my own privacy. You ain't doing that. I don't have a camera on my PC, but when I did, it was taped, and when I wanted to use it, I untaped it. My phone is turned off, not like in sleep mode, turned off most of the time when I'm not using it because of that. And I sure as shit do the same thing for my tablets and my smartwatch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like a lot of these like first of all the politicians and these cuckoo crazies that tell you to worry about the microchips and all this conspiracy bullshit, they're the ones who vote and support people who make it possible for these type of tracking bullshit that exists. So that's one thing to take into account. So they're hypocrites. Surprising. Conservatives are hypocrites.
Oh
Oh my
no, what a
god.
shocker!
Oh my god. Uh, so that's the first thing, and then the second thing is that I don't care. I don't care that the ads shown to me will be less accurate. I don't give a fuck. I could not care less. In fact,
Please
I
be less accurate. I will be a lot more comfortable if they are.
I would rather not have to worry about any time, every time that I hear about a data breach, I always go check if my shit was leaked because I don't know if it was. At this point, I'm just waiting for the day that my data will be leaked and that God knows what will happen. In fact,
The
there are
search history
tools.
browser.
There's tools out there to help you find this shit out. Like I'm not really endorsing it because I don't know exactly who's behind it. But I, for example, use one which is like, "Have you been pwned?" Which is basically you enter in your email and then it's like, "Oh, your email was leaked in these data breaches." And for example, one of my emails has been breached twice. Right? Did I suffer
Oh
any
goody.
consequences from that? No. Could that one day in 10 years come bite me in the ass? I don't know because I know that my data was out there and was probably sold on the black market or whatever the fuck it's called, and et cetera, et cetera. So these are things you need to worry about. And as a person like me who is very conscious about data privacy and all this stuff because I'm really paranoid. Fun fact. I'm always like scared of what the fuck is going around me. Like I'm always scared. Like like being online in that sense gives me such anxiety that I never know exactly what to trust. And it's really nobody else's fault than these corporations. Obviously, yes, there's hackers out there, but the reality
They
is that
do exist.
these hackers would not be hacking these companies for their data if their data wasn't there in the first place, if their user data wasn't there in the first place. Just you can't really hack and try to steal something that doesn't exist. So that's one thing. Um, and so that's I am very supportive of, for example, the EU's initiatives to stop as much as this is possible. I think it's great. I think that cookies was a first step in the right direction. I think that cookies should slowly just die. I think there's no real necessity for it. Um, and so it's in fact there's also a lot of like data infiltration things that are relating to cookies, because cookies also obviously they store your data, but they also store like passwords, credit card credentials, stuff like that sometimes. And so there's certain, like if you get certain malware, they'll strip your cookies, so then you're not even safe if your data being on some other server, even when they're on your own. Oh my god, I'm burping like two times a second. Holy shit, I'm so sorry, guys. Even when they're local, sometimes they can still be targeted. Obviously, when it comes to that you need to be careful that by yourself. There's always that to take into account, but that still happens. Um, so yeah, it's not good. It's not good that your privacy has become this sort of cash cow, right? That is always out there, is always in danger because everybody wants it, and you're like being used by these companies, right? And no no client, no consumer of any company wants to feel like they're being used. It's not great. In fact, I think most people have heard this. If they haven't, then this will be your first. But have you also thought about how we're called consumers? We're not called customers most of the times. We also are called customers, but most of the times we're called consumers. And they, who else do they call consumers? Drug addicts, for example, which is
That's a leap, but yeah, I can
no,
tell
but
where
you
you're
get the
coming
point. It's like they're not calling us valued customers. They call us consumers. We are supposed to consume what they make, right? It's such
from. Yeah,
it's not a glorifying like term for it. It's a
almost
very
predatory.
it's again it's very predatory. It's a very it's like, oh, you're consuming what I like, I'm giving you it and you're going to consume it. You're not going to value it. You're not going to do anything. You're going to consume it, right? So yes, the whole drug thing is a reach, but it's just an example to kind of give you like the mindset that these companies have towards you. And it's not to a lot of these companies, they 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 try to sell the idea that they care about their customers, and they do, but not for the good reasons. They don't care about the customers because they want to feel at night, they want to go to sleep and go, my customers are truly happy with what I did. No, they go to sleep and think, I really was able to make my customers as happy as possible and get as much money for them as possible. And hey,
I
I
milk the shit out of them. That's basically
whoa. Personally, I don't like that. I never ever want anybody to own one of my products or whatever the hell, and to think, and for me to at night think, hey, I really was able to milk the most amount of money out of this, and that makes me happy. I don't care about that. I want an example. I don't make these podcasts, or I don't make these podcasts at all time in the most like probably the most efficient, like the most money generating way, right? Does Politdigm, like, could I follow those crazy marketing like guru things and make Politdigm super like capitalist, if you want to be blunt? I could, and maybe we would have more success. That's true, but it goes fundamentally against my values. Therefore, I will not do it. I refuse to do it. If it makes it so that Paladime takes 10 years longer to have the success that it would have otherwise, then that's what it has to be. It's unfortunate, but hey, I will never, never break my own morals just for a little bit of success. I
or
won't.
cash.
I refuse. I see this all the time. I'll have conversations with close friends or with people I know in real life, and they'll analyze what I do, and they're like, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this thing? Why don't you do this thing? Why don't you do this thing?" Because that's what they see everybody else doing, and because they know that there's success in it, and if I did it, there could be success in it. And the reason I don't do it is because either I don't think it's correct to do that, or because I simply think that it's immoral, right? I think
As
there's.
if immoral is not the same as incorrect.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm really rambling here. Uh, the crazy red rambles. But it's true. Like there's a lot of different things that I can do with Politdigm that we could do at Politdigm. There's so many crazy, obnoxious shit that we could do, right? But the reason I don't do it is because I don't. First of all, it's against the entirety of what Politdigm stands for, which is another thing that we don't. I mean, we've not really directly criticized anybody in that sense, but it's something that we definitely don't like, which is companies and corporations which say they care. They have their whole persona, right? Their whole public image is that they care, but then when you start really looking into stuff, they don't. They are they're
Hypocrisy.
capitalists. They're hypocrites.
We sure do fucking hate hypocrites.
And
At
so
least I do.
it's something that you need to like. That's something that I always do. It's something that I always take into account. It's something that I really care about. It's maybe it'll be my downfall, but hey, I'll my downfall will when I have my downfall, I'll know that I never uh, broke my moral code for a quick buck.
I'd
And
rather die a poor man than live a rich without scruples.
like,
Scruples. Fuck, I fucked it up.
and I don't know what you mean. You would rather, yeah, rather, yeah, I get what you
Yeah.
mean. But it's true. Like I can only talk about myself, but I know that Alpha mostly agrees with what I'm saying
Oh no, I
because
totally agree.
it's 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 something that you need to like. That's the thing I see a lot in a lot of people, a lot of good people that I know is that. And when people say that, oh, like money changes you, money corrupts you, it's exactly this is a lack of this moral code, right? It's this,
Well, the
uh,
moral compass and
it's
people's north are fucked to shit.
people always get this little taste of what money is, right? Of what success is, and
Yeah.
then they crave more of it. First, because they
Absolute
think
power absolutely corrupts, am I right?
everything. First of all, it gives them a sense of completion, right? These are people who have been screwed over by the capitalist system, a system that is predatory, a system that makes all of us miserable, whether you like or not to admit it, but it does. And a lot of the issues that we have socially and a lot of issues that we have in the world and the way that uh, a lot of issues that we have is due to capitalism. Uh, and if you don't like to admit that, but it's true, unfortunately. And so when these people get fucked over constantly by the capitalist system, and then they finally get a taste of what capitalism can do or can give back to you, which is never fair, right? It's always only the 1% who gets it. The 99% don't get it. So when you finally enter that little subclass, right? When you finally get a taste of it, you're like, "Oh, this is amazing." Everything the way that like the world works, the way the economy works is amazing. You know, you can if you work hard enough, like I did, you can make it. And then it's like a vicious circle. You always hear the same shit over and over again, right? There's always these people who had this immense amount of luck finally have success, and then they try to sell you the idea that you too can do it when it's not true because
The
uh,
internet guru.
not to be not to get too philosophical here, but there's a no you'll definitely know who it is by I can't remember. Is it Plato who says that when a man tries to bathe a second time like in a river, it will never he's not neither the same man nor is it like the same river. Some shit like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's exactly this idea. You first of all, you're not that person. And second of all, no matter how much you try to replicate everything that they did, you'll never achieve it the same way. It's
The
impossible.
thing is, you can't replicate luck because it's all there is to it. Do you think that these people? This is something that we've talked about at length, but let's go into it again for even if briefly, they didn't get to the positions of power because they are smarter or harder working. I'm sure that a lot of successful people are
I
smart
mean,
and
Donald
hardworking.
Donald Trump was the president of the United States, and he's an
He is
absolute
fucking
moron.
idiot.
Is it a complete moron? Has barely done any work in his life. He was basically
Yes,
given
but
everything to him. So
most of the time, these extremely powerful people were either extremely lucky or you wouldn't want to replicate what they did to get
yeah,
there.
like they either were
Like,
extremely lucky or they fucked over a lot of people and got
have you
lucky doing it.
seen House of Cards, right?
No, I have not. Not my type of show.
Okay, brief. It's my type of show. Brief rundown. The main character is played by Kevin Spacey, and he is almost as bad in the show as Kevin Spacey in real life, but almost. And his wife, and they are both politicians that will do anything to achieve their goal, which is to establish basically a dynasty in the Oval Office, where one runs for president. They finish they ran twice, get the 8 years, and then the other one goes to run for the next slot. And the shit that they do, like Kevin Spacey literally and his wife literally murder people in the TV show, and it pays off. They're fucking tyrants, but it pays off. He becomes president, and then she becomes president. And the thing is, it's a fucking TV show, but I can see that working out in reality real fucking well.
Yeah,
It's how well do you play the game? Are you smart? You don't have to be. Do you have power? And can you push the right buttons? That's it. That's it. Elon Musk isn't a genius. He's a rich boy with a gigantic ego and a
and
lot of capital
knows the right people.
and knows the right people exactly.
And that's the thing. It's like thinking, and that's a main argument that's given when it comes to why capitalism is so good, is how fair it is, right? Is how fair it is to the
It is
to, to the
not.
to the
It
layman,
is not.
how fair it is to the layman person, right? How it's the way they sell you the American dream, right? And the
Yeah.
reality is that the American dream was never a thing. It was never real. It was real for a small period of there during the 40s and the 50s, but even then, it was not the
I
American
mean, during
dream.
the late 40s, where
It
basically
was,
everyone was living off the high of World War II,
yeah.
where Europe just fucking crashed.
But
Welcome
you're
to the new
missing.
superpower.
You said a one wrong comment there, which is why the American dream still wasn't real through that time. Is that it was not everybody. It was the
Yeah.
white people. That's all I have to say.
The white rich man.
It was the white, the right, the white, the white. I mean, the white middle class man of the United States who was able to achieve the American dream. That was it. Those all
Yeah.
women couldn't. People of color couldn't. So
I
the
mean,
American dream was,
let's change even a little more. The straight white
yeah,
middle class man, American middle class man. Because if you fall into any other category, you are beyond fucked. Because this is the 50s.
yeah.
The 50s were fucked.
And you need to remember that um, we're still living in that same world. And the
Yeah.
reality is that you go to Europe nowadays and you hear the people talking about the US. Not, it depends on who you are and who it is, but generally a lot of Europeans also believe in the American dream. They
Yeah.
do.
They are sold
It's
on it because media.
because it was something that was so pushed. It was something that was so shown in American media. This idea of the white picket fence, the perfect family, the perfect nuclear family, the man, the wife, the man, the wife, the daughter, and the son, and the dog. That's like a perfect.
Yeah, the
That's
golden retriever.
like exactly. That is like the most American and like racist depiction of like the most. They're both like super. They're like both blonde and blue eyes. They're like basically
Which is
Hitler's.
ironic.
They're basically Hitler's wet dream, right? So you need to remember that the U.S. is like built on those values, and so capitalism also lives on those values, also lives on those ideals, right? Of this idea that if you work hard enough, you can achieve these things. But that's not true, because when you work hard enough and you always think you'll achieve it, you're not the one benefiting from it. The rich people are benefiting from it. Your bosses, your your landlords are the ones benefiting from it, not you. You only get fucked over by it over and over again. But there's always some people, the 1%, who would do achieve it. And then they sell you the idea that you can't do it. And then you're like, no, I must do it. I can actually do it. Because if some people can do it, then I can do it. Because I'm special. I'm the one who's different. I'm the one who's gonna make it whilst nobody else did. That's because people are optimistic. That's, for example, something that Americans have. They're very optimistic. They have a very optimistic culture. Most Americans are very optimistic, and they always think they'll do great things and all this. And to be fair, Europeans not so much. We're a little more sus about shit and all that. It's
That
true.
was the
Like,
most Gen Z fucking way to say it.
I know, but it's
We
true.
were
Like,
obsessed about shit.
a lot of more like Europeans are definitely more like suspicious. When something is too good to be true, we usually go like, hold up, hold on,
I mean,
something
have
ain't
you
right.
heard of Andrew Tate?
I mean, yeah, but like that's. I mean, there's a reason why, generally speaking, most European countries aren't as capitalist, right? Aren't as right leaning as the U.S. because most of us don't have that much of like they're like, this seems a little too fishy, right?
Also because it's not ingrained in our fucking culture. Like, the US is obsessed with the underdog story.
Yeah.
Like, you point at a case of someone who got lucky and they say, see, you
I
can
mean,
be this
I
person.
love the underdog
Everyone
story,
loves the underdog story,
but
but
I love a very
you're
different type of
fucked when you, yeah.
underdog story. I love the David versus Goliath underdog story. I like the little
Yes, you
people.
like biblical
I like the
boys
whoa,
collecting a dozen like
whoa,
circumcised dicks.
Alpha. What the fuck? No, I
Yeah, I was wrong. I said a dozen. It's 1,000. Sorry.
that's really specific. I mean
Yeah,
the
that's the story.
I
Like,
mean the I
before David fights Goliath, he has to like
the fuck?
get the 100 circumcised, the 1,000 circumcised like skins from the dicks of the king's army.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, the Bible is fucking weird. There's a talking donkey in one of them.
But that's Shrek. You're thinking about Shrek. Moving on. What I was trying to say is what I love is, for example, when I say the visual, I mean the little people, right? I mean the workers, the
The
layman
dwarves.
people, the us, the people fighting against the big corporations. That's the underdog story I like. Not in the sense of them bowing down to them and then proceeding to try to think that if they work hard enough, they too can be Goliath, right?
Yeah,
No, I want David to kill Goliath, not kill, not literally, but I want to make Goliath, fail.
perish.
And that's the thing. Like, for example, in these last couple of weeks on my TikTok, I've seen a spike of anarchist content. I don't know why, because I'm not an anarchist. I want to make that clear.
Rules do be important.
But because the notion that our world can perfectly work upon like on our morals is hilarious. Because sure, that's
What do be morals?
like that definitely works.
It's a whole field of study. Like, what do be morals?
So but I've seen a lot of stuff there, and there's hey, I might not fully agree with the anarchist movement because I do think that we need rules, just like you said. Not
I
maybe not
completely agree where that's
definitely
coming
not
from.
most of the ones we have in place right now. They definitely need a reform. But there's a lot of things right there that a lot of imagery, a lot of like a lot. I mean, there's a lot of communist like posters, a lot of socialist posters that they show. A lot of like there's even sometimes like Soviet propaganda against the U.S. that they show, and a lot of it is true. Like one which is really cool, which is like uh, this huge like ledge, like this it's like a basically it's just like a mountain and then there's like a huge drop, right? And there's this plank, almost like those planks you see in like in the pirate movies, right? Like where the walking plank, right? And on one end at the or over the ledge is the boss, right? The big corporation. and then on the land, on the fixed floor, there's like a huge group of people standing on that board, right, the walking board, which is what is keeping the boss from not falling to his death, right? And the imagery that was trying to say is that if all, in that case, if all the workers would leave, the boss would fall and die, right?
Yeah, but like the thing is, unfortunately not, because look at say after they can just wait until the writers run dry.
I mean, that's not entirely true because, to be fair, like, I mean, first of all, you said the wrong union.
Fuck
Second of
on
all,
that.
the reality is that, for example, in that scenario, that's not true. It's just that they have a lot of money. Therefore,
Yeah.
that process is happening. The guys they're just falling very slowly to their deaths. It's just
The
that it's
thing
so
is, the
slow.
workers will fall a lot faster because no one is paying them.
I mean, to be fair,
Like,
that's not entirely true because there are other companies, there are other studios that are welcoming them.
yeah,
So
but it's complicated. I wanted to talk this for a while now. I read a book, a really popular Japanese book, which is roughly translated to "No Longer Human." It's about it's written by Osamu Dazai. He killed himself after he was 38, and the book is widely recognized as an autobiography. Yeah, it's basically the autobiography, and it follows this man, which basically clowns is the way that's described, to try and protect himself from society because his deepest fear is of people. And at it, he basically does everything that you tell him to because he fears disappointing others and hurting others so much that he will do anything to stop everyone from not liking him. Basically, it's the best way that I can describe it. It's a complex book. And there's this section where he joins an extremist Marxist group, and they try to murder people in a riot in the name of Marx.
okay.
The thing is, and this I think is extremely important, we need to have ideals. We just have to be careful with how far we take them. The idea that we need to change the rules in our society because they are antiquated and they need to be modernized, I feel is a pretty valid one in a lot of countries.
Yeah. I mean,
But the idea that we need to abolish rules because our morals will do the work themselves,
yeah, that's not
yeah,
viable. That's not applicable.
everything, every belief can be taken into an extreme.
Yeah.
And m- me and Reds are pretty strongly open about our leftist views.
No,
But
that's not true. We're not open about it. We don't make podcasts every week about it. I don't know what you're talking
shut
about.
up, shut up. Uh, but for my, I think it's important that we also say exactly that. Don't follow ideals, but don't be an extremist because oftentimes the extreme is not good.
And there's also another thing you need to remember is that extremism is often more than not fueled by hatred. It's fueled
Yeah,
by not a place of hope and the idea of prospering, but out of an ideal of revenge
or
for what
fear.
what people have done for you.
Yeah,
Obviously,
or a deep loyalty. All emotions that cloud your judgment and the ability to think for yourself.
a lot of oh shit, sorry, I had my microphone. A lot of these type of videos about these anarchist videos that I'm talking about, a lot of a common theme about them is this feeling of revenge, right? It's they're trying to have revenge on capitalism. And whilst I'm not the biggest at all, I hate capitalism. I think that it's not it never worked and it never will. I don't
I'm
like
not
it,
gonna bomb the CEO headquarters.
but I'm not gonna do a Johnny Silverhands, aka Keanu Reeves character in Cyberpunk, and put a nuclear bomb inside a mega corporation's headquarters.
That
I'm
was a
not.
deep spoiler. I wanted to play that game.
It's literally it's like the whole point of the game. Like if you don't know that, then you don't know what the fucking game is about. Like it's not even a
Sure.
spoiler at this point.
You don't
Uh,
want to do a fight club.
that's on you. You don't want to do fight. So you need to take that into account, and it's you need
Yeah.
to check.
Like,
You need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You need to make sure that where are your like where are your values coming from? Like why do you feel this way? Like personally, and that's the whole point of Politdigm is yes, we don't like capitalism, but we want to put we want to have a new a system in place that makes people's lives better, that does does everything better, but is fueled by a sense of hope in the sense that we as humanity can be more than what we are,
yeah,
right? We can all come together and prosper as a single species, right? And we can make sure that other species on our planet are not being killed unnecessarily. We can make sure that our planet is a stable ecosystem. We can explore the stars if we really wanted to. We can do all these things. We're not,
yeah.
we don't we don't want capitalism to end because we think that they should all die, that we should kill every big, every CEO. We don't. There's
We
a lot
aren't
of
the French.
true. We don't want to behead the king. Like it's that's something you need to take into account. And
I
whilst
think the best way to describe it, at least for me, is we are exposing our views and talking about them so that we may help people form their own opinions.
yeah, is
Is the
like
most important aspect of it all. We have big dreams, we have big ideals, but most of all, we are trying to help people uh, think for themselves.
yeah, and I think that we talked about it before the recording of this podcast is something that is vital to for you to remember. We're not journalists. We will never be. I don't want to be a journalist. I think being a journalist is. I mean, I won't say boring, but it's a lot of hassle. Eh,
I
but we're
think
not.
journalists are pretty fucking pog. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the good
yeah.
journalists are
That's true.
pretty
But
pog.
there's very little of them. I have to add that in. But it's. I have to say that we're not journalists. We will never be journalists. I mean, that's not the point of Politime. The point is we're trying to educate you in a way that is not a traditional type of education, not a sense that we're not going to make you study, not the sense that we're going to, you know, give you trying to indoctrinate you into anything, right? If you want to call that, if you want to call it that, if you want to use big words,
Yeah.
all we're
Just
trying to
remember,
do
cult
is
meetings only happen in my house.
we are we are doing education in the most philosophical type of way. We're trying to educate you on the this on thinking, right? On thinking for yourself,
Knowledge.
on trying to reflect on the way you view the world and how that affects you. How does the world affect you, and how do you affect the world? What dynamic do you have with the people around you? All these different things, because they're fundamental aspects of who you are. And a lot of people look at these things and aren't able to process them, and then process them in all the wrong ways. We've talked about this many times in past episodes. We talked about it when we talked about our experience with school, and we talked about our experience with our colleagues, and how many times we see that these people go down these bad roads because they're not able to process these things correctly. A lot of people, like Andrew Tate fans, they go down those incel and red pill pipelines
Nice guy.
because they don't know how to process these things. And it's not saying that they're less. No, they're a product of their environment, and unfortunately the world has not been kind to them, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault that they fell into those pipelines. Making fun of those people can be easy and it's funny, but it's also need to remember that they're people, and behind it, it's to me, it's yes, there's definitely some funny moments. And for example, me and my best friend have had talked about this one person who used to talk to my best friend, which had had said the most hilarious shit imaginable about, for example, his personal height. How he said that if anybody when he became a certain height, that he would piss on people that were shorter than him. Right? That is insane, and it's so easy to make fun of that because it is so crazy, right? But the reality is that that guy is such a sad person. That person has such like so many things wrong with him, and I can't help
Low
but think about it.
self-esteem.
Can't help but think about it and think this person needs help, right? And we're not here to offer you therapy that you have therapists for that. We're not here to replace. You have
who,
here. We're
who
not
would
here.
have guessed you have therapists for therapy?
We're not here to try to replace school because school is it's a pillar of society.
For as
Um,
flawed as it is, it is important.
Important, and it definitely, again, just like I said before, it needs to reform. It needs to be rethought. It needs to be modernized to a way of to be inclusive and to truly be designed a way that makes kids think in a good way instead of thinking of school as a torturous environment.
It can
But
be. It can be.
exactly, but it shouldn't. It should never be a torturous environment. It should be it should be an environment where you have fun, where you are with your friends, where you every day look forward to feeling more fulfilled, more educated, to feel that you belong more in society. And in a lot of situations, it's the exact opposite of all the things I just said. So we need all these different things, and looking at all these things, and then interpreting. No, help me out here, please. int-
Interpreting.
Interpreting them in all the wrong ways and then going to the right wing into the red pill sort of pipeline is very easy when you aren't exposed to things like
Oh, you
Politdigm.
mean that the problem isn't me, it's society. That's such an easy way to escape the idea that you might need change. Like,
And and a reality is that there's definitely societal issues. Society, there's definitely issues
sure.
in the society, but it's not just that. You need to recognize that you as a person also have issues. You need to work through them. It's a fundamental part of life that you need to work through your issues, that you need to be able to self-reflect. You need to be, you need to be able to be your biggest critic. Yes, that's the word. You need to be able to look at the things you do and question them. You need to, truly have a good sense of right or wrong, etc., right? And these are all things that you can learn. They're not most of them are not things that you just do when you're born, right? So you can learn these things. For example, while studying philosophy and psychology these last 2 years, there's a lot of different concepts that I've learned, and they have really helped me think. They've really helped me realize how the human mind really works. And also being the child of a person with a doctorate in psychology also helps because obviously I've been more exposed to that throughout my childhood, this type of knowledge. And of course that helps. Of course, having educated parents and legal guardians helps because no shit, you're being you grew up in a household where education is valued, where intellect is valued, where you can sit down at the table at lunch and talk about philosophical topics, and you can talk about the newest developments in aerospace technology and all these different things, whilst most other people then are at their table and they're all to talk about the newest soap opera. They'll talk about pointless shit. Right, and regardless, most thing can, if you
And
want, you can.
smokeless shit can be important, but it's
Yes, it
not
can be
the end
fun,
all be all.
but when all the type of when the only conversations you can have is about the newest soap opera, and there's really nothing else to it, then hey, that's fine. If that's all you, that's if that's what you want to talk about, sure. But personally, that shit doesn't interest me. That's just a fact. And the reality is that there's more to life than that. There's more to life than TV shows. There's more to life than your local drama, and there's more to not drama but gossip, right? There's more than that to life, and a lot of people just that's all they do. That's all they live, and that's fine. But then there's also different people. I'd say I don't know. I don't know really where this conversation was going, but yeah, like that's why I wanted to start Politdigm is because I feel like I'm not here.
Ah, shit.
What?
We didn't talk about 9/11.
Damn it! And talk about 9/11. I mean, I was gonna finish something, but I can say it. I'll say it. Then we can move on to 9/11 because the episode is getting a little long. But uh, I'd have to say that the reason I wanted to do Politdigm is not because I have some sort of savior complex like Elon Musk, or anything to say that I'm again, just like we said before, I'm not the one who's different. I'm not the one who is going to save the
You're a
world.
special boy.
I'm definitely special, in the sense that my brain not worky.
Special ed.
Uh, yeah, like I'm definitely
Sorry.
there's definitely a lot of things wrong with me. Something I'm definitely not neurotypical. That's for sure. I'm definitely neurodivergent. Um, and
Oh no,
so
it's the neurodivergence. Sorry.
I mean, bro,
Sorry.
you're neurodivergent as fuck it too. So
Yeah, no shit.
don't even pretend like you're
Have you ever
neurotypical.
tried to have a normal conversation with me?
Yeah, I have. It's impossible. And so I'm not here, out of like, yeah, I'm a beacon of hope for society. That's work because there's a lot of very educated and way more educated people than me and alpha people that have been in this space for much more time. People that have much more life experience than us. I'm 18, almost 19, and alpha is not even 18 yet, right?
Hell
So
yeah.
we're young. However, we have been
That's
through a lot
fucked.
of shit, and we definitely are. We've always been more mature than anybody of our age around us. That is something that we both have experienced, and the reason why me and Alpha became close
I mean,
friends.
not anybody, but most
Most,
people, yeah.
yeah, like 90% of them. So it's the reason why me and Alpha became such close friends when we met is because we're on a different sort of um, I would say period of our lives compared to
We're
our
just
peers.
built different.
I Yeah, in a way, but we're all built different from each other. But like me and Alpha, we're
Mm,
definitely, I'd say that mentally, because we're more mature, we're just in a different phase of our life. That is not to say that we're better. It's just to say that we're just, I don't know. It's just true. Like we're not as
built different.
as I talked. I don't know if I've talked about this in a podcast episode, but I'm going to get a little personal in here. But for example, as a kid, at the age of um as like at very young ages, I was uh thinking about stuff that most kids didn't, and that is not to say that I'm better than them. In fact, it kind of scares me because it's like, why of all things, like anybody that's different has always thought this exact thing, which is, why am I the one who's different? Why can't I be like the others? Right? It's something
Yeah,
that
life would
I've
be so much easier.
it's always something that I've that that I have experienced in my life. And as much as I have felt special in many ways, ways which, like you said, special ed, and I probably, as a kid, definitely needed it, but never got that special ed that I needed. But in a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
senses, it's not only my biggest handicap, it's the thing that makes me the most special. It's the thing that makes me stick
You're
out.
running with it.
It's so yeah, it's the same thing that makes me stick out in the world. It's something that I can easily make friends with people like me. It's the reason why I'm friends with Alpha. It's the reason I'm friends with my best friend Mad Dog. That's his stage name, not his actual name. I don't know why anybody would think that. But it's yeah, it's true. There's people that are different and they attract each other, and everybody that's we're all weirdos here, right? We're all weirdos, and weirdos go along well with other weirdos.
Disruptors.
And the
Disruptors.
reality is that the reason I wanted to do Politdigm is for a younger me, right? I am here creating the platform that I wish that a younger me had. A platform that is inclusive, a platform which can make me feel welcome, a platform that can educate me on these different topics that I've always found so interesting and so thought provoking, but was always so scared to tackle them because they seemed so complex and convoluted. And I was just so it was scary. It scared me, these different topics. As a kid, I refused to even think about politics because it scared me. It was so complex, and I was always like, nah, I don't care about politics because who cares? And I care. I always cared, right? And having the opportunity to create something like Politime, where I feel like I could be inspiring kids like me to hopefully fight together to make the world a better place, is something that is very special to me. And if I ever slightly achieve that, um, honestly, I'd feel fulfilled in life. Um, if I want to say that. Um,
Welcome to Paul time. We
So
start with online ownership and we end with
with
existential crisis.
and a wholesome message in a way. But to not finish in a wholesome message,
Oh
we
fuck.
have exactly 5 minutes. Well, okay, 4 minutes. Wait, is it? No, it's still. Yeah, sure, it's 5 minutes to end the episode on 1 hour and 19 minutes. And I'm not saying that really means anything, but if you swap it around, it says 9/11, and that'd be
Okay,
really cool if we
let me
could do
run.
that.
Let me run this one. Let me run
Wait,
this
wait,
one.
wait,
Okay.
wait, wait. We needed to first do the little. Wait, I guess we technically already did the plug, right? So you guys got to check out the.
Yeah.
You gotta check out the Patreon. Support us if you believe and if you enjoy what all this little rant I went on. Make sure to support us. Join the Discord. We would really love to start talking to you guys and really engage with you. Make sure to check out our socials to answer to the Politdigm Pulse Check. If you don't know what the Politdigm Pulse Check is, it is a little question like thing that we do where once in a while we will ask you questions to make sure that we're hitting the topics that you are interested in, to make sure that Politdigm is just making is what you want it to be, right, in a way. And so yeah,
Wrap this up. Wrap this up. Come on.
that's it. That's it. So we got 3 minutes. Okay, well,
Okay, so
9/11.
okay, my
Go ahead.
turn. Okay, so 9/11. 9/11 was the cause of the American government basically dick measuring with Russia and fighting against communism and going way too far. And because of it, a lot of innocent American people died. But because of that catastrophe, a lot more Middle Eastern people died because the American government just turned around and said, well, fuck you all, we're gonna kill you. And the American people turned around and said, fuck you all, we're gonna kill you. To the point where, like, firefighters that were Middle Eastern and helped in the collapse of the Twin Towers were not credited in the memorial even after they died. And there was one, I'm pretty sure he was sick man who was beaten in the street because they thought he was Arabic, even though he was not.
Yeah, heard of that
So
story.
basically, the government caused 9/11.
Yes,
The American people suffered it, and then everyone else suffered for it.
exactly. If you didn't know, we're not saying that Americans, the
They
victims, the
sure as shit
families
did not deserve what
did not
happened.
deserve 9/11, but ignoring the fact that 9/11 was uh, the the side effects of America being stupid is dumb, because that is exactly what happened. America, you know, got on all fours and spread their cheeks wide open, and then got surprised when somebody fucked them up.
Penetrated.
And then they got up, and then instead of, you know, not really doing anything and trying to help out their people, trying to put on, some relaxing cream, taking some, I don't know what you do when you get butt fucked, because I've never done it personally, so I don't
Lotion.
really know the how what you do afterwards if everything hurts, but you probably should take care of it. But no, they decided to take a gun and then kill people. They decided to murder. They started to invade a country and then murder hundreds of thousands of people, which were
Yes,
not.
because the American government before 9/11 called the guys that destroyed the Twin Towers their holy brothers in the fight against communism. Because
So
it was a holy war. And we fucking love it. So, everyone, thank you very much for this fine day.
thank you
And
for
have a nice night.
and thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting us. And if you remember, for you to remember, a last message is that capitalism is evil, and the U.S. is an imperialistic country which does not care about you, and you should stop caring so much about the U.S. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.